Hi, everyone. Good morning to you all. Happy Thursday. I am going live today because I wasn't able to yesterday and do my usual sort of midweek chat about a great topic in sustainability. And that was because I was out and about. It was just too hard basket. So I'm doing it today. I hope you can join me. I really wanted to talk about the barriers of entry really to sustainability and kind of the key reasons why many businesses see this as such a challenge and a difficult task up ahead. So, if you are joining me live, I can see a couple of you joining now on LinkedIn. Say hello. Don't be shy, and tell me where you're from. What do you do? So we'll dive right into it. Right, there are a number of reasons around kind of economic and social and just evaluation barriers that we often see or identify as limitations for us moving forward in terms of sustainability. And so it really just seems like a very big and complex problem. Now, here's the hard truth. It is complex. Sustainability is holistic, and so it means it thinks about all sorts of systems and their integration and their connectedness. But with any complex problem, there is a way to break it down into simple, digestible morsels. And so that's what that's what I'm here today to assure you of and really give you the go ahead that there is a way to move forward, and it can be done with small, digestible steps that will leverage into new opportunities. And that's really how I take my approach with anybody that that I work with or that I speak to about this. So really, just to summarize, kind of the four key things that most businesses struggle with is: one, there isn't a singular definition of sustainability. So there's not sort of a one size fits all. I mean, sustainability, probably in the more recent ways of thinking about it, is, of course, the baseline definition, which is that sustainability is about really existing now harmoniously with the environment in a way that our fish can continue to thrive and continue to exist harmoniously with the environment in their time, and so on and so forth for generations to come. And it really just covers, the four pillars of sustainability, which in itself is so big because it's about economic, social, human, and environmental. So there isn't a unified definition, and the UN has really struggled with it because without that singular definition, it means that businesses find this as a barrier to entry because it seems like it's connected to everything. So where to start, right? And I'm going to go through the barriers, and then we'll go through kind of how we can break this down a little bit more. So the next is, what's the value of sustainability? Because in business, everything in business is about the economic value, and when we think about sustainability, we think about it being as a really expensive upfront cost, which means there is that immediate resource barrier. So how can we invest in something like this when it's going to cost the business so much? And what is that immediate payback? Well, this is about changing the way we view value and return on investment, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But the idea is that the value of sustainability is seen as high, is perceived as high. Therefore, the return on investment isn't seen as immediate enough for businesses. The third thing is that with this idea of sustainability, it means we're going to have to encourage our stakeholders, our client base, our consumers, our customers to essentially consume less. It moves away from these typical ideas of consumerism. So we're supposed to buy less and lower our impact as a result, and that means the business makes less, right? Because the business can't sort of make more money from people buying more and more of their products. So of course that's a barrier for businesses. They want to be able to make more, and we've really built our economy and our commercial systems on this idea of growth and expansion, and essentially that's on the basis of selling more products. The fourth thing is that in order to be sustainable, as I said before, I used the word holistic. Well, that also ties into our approach, is that we need to be holistic in our approach by collaborating with people. Climate solutions require that sort of collective action, that collaborative approach and effort, which might mean working with your your typical competitors in the market and coming together for a collective good and collective benefit as well. So that's really also a bit of a hindrance when businesses are still kind of in that traditional view that we need to protect ourselves, protect our IP, not be vulnerable, not be open, in our operations and in market. And so this really hold businesses back as barriers. We want to be able to break these things down, right? So in terms of these things, like let's just sort of talk about in general how these barriers play out, in terms of these economic and financial barriers and that hindrance to businesses taking the next step. The thing is, they don't appreciate there's no appreciation for the worth of sustainability, and that's because the current economy is really not built on this sustainable thinking, right? It's built on limitless economic growth. There's this sort of ongoing increase in profits and GDP and consumerism, and that is seen as okay. That's really where the current economy is. It's that linear growth economy. And we know now that's really not the case. That it's not even possible because we have a limited amount of natural resources. And so the companies need to start, educating themselves on how, sustainability can bring about value for their business, can actually increase profits in the longer term, and not actually just in the longer. When I say longer, I actually mean mid to longer. So often the sustainable return on investment doesn't come through immediately. In some instances, it certainly does, but there's also benefits definitely in the midterm. So, where we would typically want a return on investment within a year to 2 years, with sustainable strategies, you might see that return on investment, the bigger return on investment, more in the midterm. So anywhere around the kind of 3 to 5 year mark. And so it certainly is extended, and that's big in business terms. But when you think about then the things that you're putting into your business that actually have a much longer term benefit and a bigger longer term benefit, which is improved resilience and reduced risk, then you really start to see actually there's a lot of value in these sort of sustainable strategies. And speaking of strategy, the fact that many businesses see their corporate business strategy separate to their sustainability strategy is in fact a hindrance, because we need to kind of bring them together. Sustainability is about everything. It's about the clothes we wear, our healthcare, our education, our shelter, the homes we live in, obviously our offices and our businesses and the way that we operate. It is connected to everything, absolutely everything. So you can't have a separate business strategy or corporate strategy that is about marketing and growth and clients and stakeholders, and then have a sustainability strategy, which is also about the same things, might I add, but from a I'm not going to use the word conscious, because this isn't about fluffy mindfulness, but this is about considered economic growth. This is about considerate economic growth. And so we need to actually bring together a unified strategy that's going to help us benefit as a business, but also not kind of go on unchecked without any sort of accountability for the impact that we're having on the environment, the impact that we're having on social systems. So that leads me into social barriers. The social barrier is often that, people don't see their consumption as being checked. They don't want to be told they can't buy more. They don't want to be told to buy something for the longer term and not be able to change it as the new version comes out, like phones, for example. Everybody wants the latest version. So, there's a perfect example of kind of this unchecked consumerism that sort of seems to be the way that we want to live our lives. We don't sort of value the time and effort that this phone really took to be in my hand, like the effort, the distance it traveled, the energy that it took to make it, the water that it took to make it, the hands that it took to put things together, and extract them in the first place, extract those minerals and those raw materials to make this product in the first place. we don't really see that value because we just see the finished product, and we're so disconnected really from the process. So there really is this kind of unchecked devaluation of products, and not realizing that we can actually have products for the longer term and for the longer use, rather than this fast-paced, fast consumerism view. So that is really a huge social barrier, and really comes at the cost of kind of unchecked environmental depletion. So we really need to look at a new way of selling products and marketing them as well in the first place, rather than this whole fast consumerism sort of viewpoint. It's about longer term value for the client to then, or the customer to then, look at how they end up saving their money or saving their resources for use in other ways, for use in ways that are much more fulfilling. Like experiences, for example, like using that money for experiences with their family and traveling and so on, which I know is certainly an impact on the environment. But what I'm trying to get at is it's just this new way of viewing life and value, and the way that we enjoy life. It's not through this ongoing consumerism. And the other thing, that I want to touch on here is I appreciate what's difficult for businesses as well to kind of get past these barriers, because going back to the initial point that there isn't a unified definition of sustainability, and it is difficult to determine the value of sustainability, is leading to the fact that right now there isn't enough legislation in place, there isn't enough structure, or maybe not enough, but the unified structure of how we can evaluate sustainable metrics. So there's a lot of different frameworks out there, like GRI and SAS, the Global Compact, the commitments through the Global Compact. There's all of these different bodies of thinking, and so we find that obviously a hindrance. So what I want to say on that is that, yes, there are different bodies of thinking in terms of how we evaluate sustainability and how well we're doing as a business. But the truth of the fact is that they're actually all connected on the same core principles. So put those aside for a moment and really just think about, at a basic level, across the 4 pillars of sustainability, looking at your operations and considering, what your people are facing and talking to them directly, which is really what that materiality impact phase is about. That initial step you take as a business is to really consider the material impacts. By talking to your stakeholders, you'll be able to then see very quickly, okay, these are the 4, even if you can pick 4 in each category, these are the 4 metrics I want to measure under the environmental banner. These are the 4 metrics I want to measure under the social banner, under the human cap, under the economic banner. And then start to at least bring in some metrics of evaluation, some metrics of sustainability or ESG that you could start to measure as a business, to then later on look at how you evaluate your progress through this sustainable journey. So there's ways to approach this as a first step. Let's not think about solving everything all at once, but let's think about what's that first step. And so really, all I can say to you is the first best step is to talk to somebody external from your business. Yes, it's great to talk to people internally in your business. It's great. It's even better to speak to somebody externally, not necessarily because they know more, although they may be niche experts in a particular space, but more importantly, they bring an external viewpoint. And don't just talk to one person, talk to several and get those viewpoints in, and then start to understand what might be a first good step, a first possible step for you to move forward as a business. So yes, I think that these barriers certainly beliefs in our mind, and there is a way forward if we can start to break down this very complex problem, which it certainly is, into digestible steps, into digestible morsels for consumption, so that we're not just continuing to hold ourselves back, because really all that's happening here is procrastination. And procrastination is really this deeper need for wanting to move forward, to do things better, but you're really afraid. You're afraid because it seems big, it seems too complex, you're worried about failing, you're worried about moving down the wrong path. And that's what this procrastination really stems from. So I really just think that it's a barrier that we have right now in our belief system, and one that can be definitely broken down to reveal that it's just one step and then another and then another. And before you know it, you've taken 10 steps and you're well into your sustainability journey. So, yes, that's how I see it. I do hope that this has been, valuable for you in your business, in your work. If you have any thoughts or any questions, I'd love to hear it. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and that you take care of yourselves.